Kyle.
Yeah.
Amber. Here. Cam.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Raghav.
Yes.
Vidya.
Here.
And Ali. Here. Emmy. Here. Bonnie.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Mika.
Here.
Christian.
Here.
Melanie. Here.
Sounds good. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the previous
Motion
minutes?
approved.
Second.
Motion from Ali, second from Eric. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion
Second.
Second.
A motion from Amber, second from Cam. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, let's get right into our new business, which is first our plus 1,000 presentation from Society of Women Engineers. All right, welcome. Could you hit front and center up here?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
And I have 7 copies of a handout I was asked to bring.
Okay. You can,
People can share.
Just for
So
Before you begin, I'm going to have Kyle give a little talk about the rules.
Do you want me to just go press for you? Or do you...
Kyle, you can give a little talk.
Yeah, so just you have 3 minutes to present. I'll do this. We have 1 minute left, and later you when your time expires. Please, if that happens,
Sure. All right, I will be brief. Hi, I'm Bridget Woody. I'm the Vice President of Conference and Budget for the Society of Women Engineers here at SCU, which means that today I'm here to ask you for financial funding for our national conference next month. So We19 is the national conference that occurs every year for SWE. This year it's in Anaheim, so right in state, which is convenient for us. It's November 6th through 10th. So what that means is that we've actually already done our purchasing for almost everything for this event, seeing as things like flights and hotels book very early when thousands of people are converging on one street. What this event entails is really important to us. It has a lot of educational opportunities, networking events, and it has career fair where women can actually be interviewed on the spot for jobs. Also, it includes diversity modules, which really help us enrich our community, especially in the School of Engineering. This benefits the SCU community, and it's relevant to ASG because you guys aim to support the diverse body of people at SCU, and in the School of Engineering, we need that as well. And we really appreciate the solidarity and educational enrichment we get by attending this event. In addition, those of us who are able to attend get a lot out of it, and once we return, we host events with other diversity and engineering groups, like SHIP and NESB, as well as events with the other members of SWE, so that we can share what we've learned at the event and what we got out of it with other people. So now I'll get into the financial details. We're not just asking you for money. We also have a corporate sponsor named Maxim Integrated, which is semiconductor space, and they are sponsoring our registration funds. In addition, we have ongoing corporate outreach. I have a meeting later today overlapping with this a little bit where I'm working with some of the other members of the board to discuss some contact persons we have to look for continued outreach. In addition, we have a grant from the School of Engineering to cover most of our funding, and we will use the rest from our RSL balance that we have. So this is our budget breakdown. It was in the little handout that I have as well. The big bulk expenses I included in the handout, which are the flight and the hotel, really are the most of this bulk money that we're requesting today. The other major expenses are listed on here. The one thing of note, perhaps, is that we aren't requesting anything for our other category, which falls into like food and emergency expenses, which we are comfortable taking on ourselves. Overall, we just are hoping that you are able to make this possible through financial sponsorship. That is it.
No, perfect.
Questions for SWE? Ali?
I was hoping to find out what entertainment includes. Yeah, sure. So every year, as part of our event, we have, it's usually called like a bonding event for the board, since this is an earlier event in the year. So usually it includes like one really nice dinner, and then the events have varied in the past. When it was in Minneapolis, they went to what used to be called Camp Snooty, which is like a little amusement park in the Mall of America. In past years, it's also included corporate tours. There's one that's run through, there's a corporate tour of the behind the scenes of Disneyland that we're interested in signing up for this year.
Other questions? No, well, thank you very much. We look forward to questions for you through Kyle.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Also, we'll be voting next week, so feel free to go. Okay, next up, we're just going to move into new RSOs that are pending approval. First one is Creative Exchange.
Come up forward.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up. Yeah, this is all you.
Okay.
Want me to click for it or?
So-
Want me to click for it?
I think
Alright, so for all new RSOs, potential new RSOs, you'll have 5-minute presentation. Please keep it concise, and same thing, I'll raise my finger up when you only have 1 minute left, and then wave at you when you're done. And we'll be voting on your potential approval next week. So ready to start.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone. So just quick 20-second self-introduction. My name is Christian. I'm a second-year computer science major. I work in university marketing to help university edit and shoot videos. Okay, so here's the club that I'm presenting today. It's called Creative Exchange. As you can see, we already have a logo. So what is this club? Yeah, I've had a hard time explaining this club to all my friends. Like, never succeeded, gonna try again this time. Okay, so so there's this bunch of people. They're called online creatives. Basically, you put out content online, which aims to either so that you produce content to sustain your living or just to build a brand just for yourself. So what this club aims to do is bring together all the online creators on campus, and so that people can chat around, maybe collaborate on things. So so that brings you to why I'm creating this club, which is like, obviously, I'm personally an online creator myself. I make videos. You can check out my Instagram. Yeah, but so I find like when I search on YouTube, I find a lot of different creators on this campus, but like they're all scattered. They don't know each other. They don't have, I want to talk to them. I want all of us to come together and share some stuff together. But so that's why I'm creating this, and that brings me to the mission statement, which is basically creating this club to foster creator culture on campus and to serve the fellow online creators. Also, another aim of the club is to promote the idea of intersection between business and creativity. Obviously, when you go into college, you think there's only these like 3 jobs that you can get into after your graduation. Well, another aim of this club is basically promoting the idea that there are actually so many things that you can do. If you choose to devote your time to creativity and build some online brand, you can create your own job basically. And that's the second part of the mission statement. So I talked about so much about the club, so how am I trying to achieve this? How do I bring together all these people? How do I, make the meeting interesting? So, anyone here heard of Gary Vee? Yes. Okay, so in his speech, he mentioned a really little part, but that really brings to my attention. Like, when you grab a bunch of really interesting people, they have a lot of ideas. How do you make them talk and share these things? So the idea he gave is basically, you have a topic, and then everyone goes around and share their own opinions on it. So that everyone gets to talk. Usually in a conversation, there are people that are more dominant, there are people that are less dominant. But if you go around like this, and everyone has like a time limit, and they can only focus on that topic, you get everyone to talk and share their opinions, which I think will actually bring the most value to everyone. And then everyone will be happy while talking. So that kind of meetings is going to be experimental. We're going to try to do it once a week. And there are also different kinds of events. So everyone in this club are the members I wrote down there from different disciplines. Everyone knows some impressive people. So we're gonna each week, not each week, but sometimes we're gonna bring in some people that we know and join the conversation to help make the conversation interesting. So here are 2 people that I know of. I'm gonna bring them once the club's created. The first guy is called Chris Rizza, if you guys know him. He's a tech YouTuber here, and yeah, he's pretty cool. He's currently enrolled in Berkeley for the 4th year, but also he's working at Google full-time. This crazy guy, 2 full-time jobs. And the second guy, I recently met him, is called Adam. So he has a pretty impressive role. Have you guys ever heard of Forbes 30 under 30? He's listed under Forbes 30 under 30. So I think if we bring him, it will be very interesting to also, make the meeting interesting. So at the end, other stuff mentioned. Funding, I don't think I really need much funding. Maybe some pizzas for the first meeting so that people can come and eat. And conflicts, well, I mean, if there's any club that's similar to this, I will probably be in it. My co-founder will probably be in it, but like the truth is there's not, so that's why we're creating this. Yeah, that's it. And also, members are real people. If you want to check them out, you can go to that link.
That's fun.
Okay, good questions. Video.
Yeah, so are you like, is it like a share and tell kind of thing? Or are you making like a website or like a forum?
What do you mean?
Like, are you making like a website or like one place where everyone kind of posts their stuff?
Oh no.
Or are you just trying to like just hype each other up by sharing like?
Basically, we get together each week, and we basically talk on different types of subjects in the form that I just talked about using Gary Vee's method. Everyone just get together and we talk. Maybe in the later on, just experiments later on each week, we might try like everyone present their new work and we can criticize each other and do all this interesting stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you're like also presenting and
Yes.
sharing your work. Okay.
Yes.
Fun.
This is predominantly for YouTube content creators.
Oh no, okay, forgot to describe it. So it's not, it's like, I describe it as a club for YouTuber, except it's not. You can be a podcaster, you can be an Instagrammer, you can be whatever blog, you can do whatever things. And this is a club for everyone. Yeah.
Okay. One more question? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Alright, next up will be SCU Vibes.
Do you want me to go through it, or do you want to?
I'll be the clicker.
Cool.
Do I just click the space bar?
Yes. Or the arrow, right arrow.
Yes.
Is my voice gonna sound good if I say
All right, I'm Luke,
And I'm Eva.
and we're really excited to be here today. I'm the president hopeful of SU Vibes.
And I'm the Vice President Hopeful.
Okay, so our main message is sense of belonging. That's what we're all about, and that is the key concept of what we're trying to do. In addition to that, we're trying to make our campus a better place for us. And an important concept or idea is when people are walking around campus, do they feel like they care about each other?
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with our mission statement. We want to cultivate a strong sense of belonging as a Santa Clara student, a unified and connected campus community, pride in being a Santa Clara student, and a supportive, kind, and positive atmosphere. We want to build on and promote what makes student life at Santa Clara so special, and we want people to walk around campus and feel like they care about each other.
Okay, so what is this club? What are we trying to do? So the name. Initially we it was called SU Together. Until this summer, I was thinking, and I kind of wanted something more inspiring. I don't know. I was just trying to change the name, and so I actually Vibes. That kind of came to me, and I was thinking about a different name. And this is actually part of the definition of vibes, is the atmosphere of a place as communicated to and felt by others. So that fits perfectly with what we're trying to do. So that's the first thing. So I think the biggest thing for what we're trying to do is, and we are really a cultural movement towards awareness of how people treat each other. So with this in mind, really more than, rather than a niche club, this is something that every student can be a part of, every student can be a member of, in the sense that every student here at Santa Clara is a part of our campus and part of our community. And so because they are, everyone is a part of making our campus a better place. And so when I say member, that really only means to us just being cognizant of the growing desire for care and what we're trying to do, just being aware of the people around you and how you're impacting other people. And also the strengthening of the core identity of what it means to be a Santa Clara student. I think this is something that's really important just because we're all different in so many different ways, as we represent here on ASG, but I think there's something that unites all of us that we have in common by our shared experiences here. And the last thing is our strategy. We want to zoom in to focus on the daily interactions that we have with each other and improve upon that, so that when we zoom out and we can hopefully see the improvement of our dynamic in our student life.
All right, so how are we actually going to do this? It's a big idea, trying to change, obviously our community on Santa Clara campus, and we are looking to become obviously a club that we today, but we don't want to be a traditional club that hosts, weekly meetings or like events, once a month. We want to more use like this position as a club to keep this idea like ongoing through the years. We don't want this to just be like a movement that dies off within a month, but we want to be able to use like this as a club to like keep it going. And so how we're gonna actually like put out this message is through like social media. We want to make weekly posts that are kind of like little reminders to our members, our followers, kind of saying, like this week, say hi to someone new in your class, or like this week, say please and thank you to every Benson worker, and like just kind of like small things that are like geared towards like reminding people to be aware of everyone else on this campus around them. And so then, like I was saying, not a traditional club, but more like a movement taking the form of like a club. If we do host events once or twice a year, we want to be able to bring in like speakers. And then, like I was saying, sending out like reminders through Instagram.
Yeah, one important thing that we want to point out is with the campus climate survey that came out about a year ago, we think that what we're trying to do with sense of belonging and inclusivity is really important and can really help something that our school is really trying to improve on right now.
And then possible ideas for funding is maybe just merchandise that we could get a loan for purchasing and then selling to get the money back.
Questions for our friend Luke here? Al.
I was hoping you guys could describe the frequency of the club meetings and what each meeting.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have an executive board that will meet weekly. So there's that, but then also for member members, it will just be events, and then like following our Instagram page and any other ideas we have.
Abby.
It seems like an Instagram page could be ran by one or two people. Is there some like an active role that the rest of the members would have in a group?
Yeah, so I think our executive board of right now we're planning on having 8 people will be like running everything. And the members, like we were trying to say, it's more of like hopefully hundreds of people, and so just being aware and just of what we're trying to do and just being cognizant of that is really like the basic level. So hopefully that is.
So what I'm hearing is like your meetings won't be like regular for members, it'll be more like events based?
Yes.
Or like what would your like?
Yeah, so technically, like we have, for an active member, just coming to one event per year. So, yeah, I guess in a similar way, it's just, Eva, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. So being a member, I think to me, and what Luke and I have talked about is like just being someone who is like aware of like the ideas that we're trying to get across on this campus, and like actively like responding to like the content like we put out using like social media or like weekly emails, that like a lot of other like all the weekly announcements we gave of like all the events going on campus, like including something on that's kind of like a message that our members can view and then take into consideration and like act upon.
Okay, last question.
So you were there last year, Senate, right? Could you tell me what distinguishes you guys from the fun club?
Okay, so I think what Ann and Ellie, right, what they were trying to do with that was have people like come together to go to events, and like I think that was kind of the main thing I remember from that, whereas we are more of a movement for awareness and more of a comprehensive like mentality and attitude and just like the atmosphere on campus and the dynamic of our campus. So I think it's just much more comprehensive than just attending events.
Okay, thank you guys. Next up, we have French Club.
Do you want me to click for you?
You can do it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Anna Canale. I'm the co-president of French Club. And as you may know, we were a club in the past, but I don't think it was renewed, so we're just trying to get the ball rolling again. So the French Club will be a safe space for people to learn about French culture, improve their language skills, and make friends with all the other students taking French classes here, just wanting to get more familiar with the culture. Our mission statement is to provide a welcoming community where people are able to learn French, learn about French culture, and meet new people with similar interests.
So our faculty advisor is Madame Nina Tonti, and we've already been coordinating with her. Our co-presidents are Juliet and Anna, and they're just in charge of like promoting the club and planning different events that we host. I would be the vice president, so in charge of like helping where needed, and Stephanie would be the treasurer and secretary, so just in charge of like the funding and other logistical aspects of the club.
So we have a few events that we're thinking of already. Our first one would be a pizza and profs night, and we're already working with Nina Tonti to get this going, but basically it can be where the members can come and meet all the staff members of the French department and have pizza and just socialize. And also we're planning on having a crepe night where we can make crepes, which are the traditional French food, and watch some French movies and listen to French music, and potentially a bûche de Noël night, which is bûche de Noël is like the traditional French Christmas like cake, and potentially French embassy visit, and yeah.
And we're not expecting to need much funding for this because we're just going to be meeting in like a room that we reserve, but just for like food for events like pizza for the pizza and prof night, and then like ingredients for like crepes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Questions for French Club? Kyle.
Since you know that there was a French club last year that did not renew, what do you guys are trying to do to make sure that this club will stay successful and will sustain over multiple years?
Well, we're all sophomores, so we'll be here for a few more years. So we can keep it going until then at least.
And we'll have
Go ahead.
I think the fact that we've kind of also spread out the leadership will kind of make sure that we're all kind of accountable for each other, just so we can keep the club going.
Any more questions for French Club? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scholarship advice organization.
Do French
Alright,
fries.
sounds
Yes,
good.
bro. Do you want me to play Chris? Alright, cool.
What's up, everyone? My name is Angel. I'm an English major currently senior.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is also Angel. I'm a poli-sci major, possibly econ major as well. Yeah.
So our mission statement, as you can see, is the Santa Clara University Scholarship Advice Club provides students opportunities to receive personalized guidance throughout the scholarship application process, focusing on allowing every student to present their strongest abilities. So this is a general outline, but here's the why first. So for me, why this club is going to matter is that I'm a first gen, right? Coming in, all the expenses are on me, and I've applied to maybe at least on a scholarship. Like, it's gotten to the point that I've had some experience, and I know how much this money is needed, that I want to share that guidance with other students, especially with freshmen.
Yeah. Likewise to Angel's story, I haven't really applied to any scholarships during college, but throughout the high school scholarship process, I remember, looking for scholarships on my own. Really, I would go into like my counseling office, but it wasn't much help. It was mainly when you go through this process, you're usually on your own, and you may know some other people that are also going through the process. So that usually helps out if you guys keep each other on track. Kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay, so also the why. For the class of 2018, 69% of college students took out student loans, and the average debt of that is $29,800.
Yeah.
Way too much. And even though there's an estimated $46 billion in grants scholarships out there, right? So what we want to do is we want to be able to take this money and bring it here for the Santa Clara students to reduce the debt here. So yeah, our goal is going to be connecting students to scholarships to reduce SCU student loan debt. So how's it going to work? First and foremost, research suitable scholarships through FastWeb, Niche, Unigo, or also the financial aid office here. They have a lot of resources, and we're going to be pushing students to use them. Next step is to use the recommended resource for actually applying, especially the hub, which is very useful. I realized that junior year. And then last but not least, it's going to be submit applications and be ready to win.
Yeah, so the guideline's pretty simple, but I mean, during our bi-weekly meetings, we're gonna be answering questions, doing check-ins with students, just having interactive games, because like it would get kind of overwhelming, honestly, like looking for scholarships. So I mean, just having that space where it's just like, hey, I need a second pair of eyes to help revise my scholarship application, especially for someone who may have already done that scholarship. It's always helpful for someone who has received that scholarship already. It's always helpful to get them to revise it and give you some advice. And yeah, just having some snacks and having that bi-weekly meeting to have that support. Funding. So main funding, I mean, just meal costs in case like for the snacks, not so much meals, but like even if we just provide pizza, club shirts possibly, and then publicity, banners and flyers, potentially banners and flyers. One thing that we did have in mind is, for example, the Latinx Student Union is currently, or in November is gonna have their like college day where they're bringing in students. We're hoping to have some sort of workshop for high school students. Hey, these are some places in which you could find scholarships, hopefully table out there, and so that's where our banner money would go into. So additional information, advisor Lower Salazar, no connections to national organization. Only possible conflict is ASG SAC and SCU SAC, but that's really about it.
That's changing anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know the one-stop office has this like infamous binder of scholarships
Yeah.
and stuff. So do you guys have a plan of creating like an online directory or
Yeah.
a website with scholarships?
Yeah, so that's like our ultimate like vision. At least we both like we're talking, sitting down. He brought the idea to me, and I was like telling him, I was like, yeah, like I heard about this infamous scholarship binder that's like it's like and then I've also heard that they have like scholarships in there that like outdated information and stuff like that. So the dream is to create this into a database, some kind of online resource that would help out. I know when you go on the Santa Clara website right now, it just really has Santa Clara scholarships and not really any outside scholarships. So that would be the ultimate dream though, to create this into a database. So we'd be working hopefully with the financial aid office closely and One Stop as well. Any other questions? Abby?
Is it primarily going to be students helping students, or is it going to be people coming in from One Stop?
Yeah.
So there's going to be two sides. So One Stop is going to be more professional side, learning about that information, but the club meetings is going to be more an emotional support. It's a lot together.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, to all the applying for SOs, you don't have to say, we'll be voting next week and discussing next week. Here you go. Once you're done. Next up will be Southeast Asian Student Association.
You guys want me to click for it?
I can do it.
Gotcha.
Just spacebar?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. So hello, I'm Chris.
I'm Matthew.
And we're here to present for the Southeast Asian Student Association.
So basically our mission statement and also our function is to promote Southeast Asian culture and traditions by bringing in students from Southeast Asian countries as well as other SU students who are interested in learning more about Southeast Asian cultures and to explore the diversity of those cultures as well as the countries that make up those regions.
And so the way we would like to do this is by organizing on-campus cultural events such as kind of, not food fairs, but the region there's a lot of diverse food, so we'd like to do stuff with food. Also, maybe cultural events, and then we'd also like to promote off-campus events. In this area as well as the Bay Area, there are many good events put on by other universities as well as in San Francisco. A lot of them are surrounding like Lunar New Year and stuff like that, so we'd like to promote that so people in Santa Clara can go off campus and enjoy those events. We'd also like to host guest speakers, people who can teach us about the past of Southeast Asia as well as the present and what's going on in the future. And so you may be wondering, like, there are a lot of cultural clubs on campus, and so what is Southeast Asia? So the way that we've been thinking of it is these 10 countries, and these 10 countries make up ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and it's an economic group of different and diverse but unified nations. And so you have, Laos, Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar. Currently on campus, Philippines is represented by Barcada and Vietnam is represented by VSA, but we still have 8 other countries that the students from those countries aren't represented on campus. Specifically, those from Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand.
In my experience, I'm now a sophomore, but even as a freshman, it's really hard to get a grasp of like the other Southeast Asian students, especially like around me, coming into Santa Clara. It's a little bit hard to find other Southeast Asian students like that come from Indonesia, Singapore, or Thailand. And our goal is to kind of create a place where all of them can meet up, meet with their seniors, alumni, and as well as to some place that the incoming freshmen can feel more at home.
Thank you.
Questions for Southeast Asian Student Association?
Yes.
So we know that SU's student body population is very diverse. That's a joke. But so how many people do you have interested in the club?
At the time that we signed up, we had 15. Since then, we've still just been asking people because you ask one person, they're like, hey, I know this person or that person. And so right now, we're between 15 and 20. I tried to look for exact numbers of how many students actually are from these nations, and I found 33. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's just students who are actually from these 8 countries, and that doesn't include the people who, their parents came here, their grandparents came here, they have some sort of connection to Southeast Asia. And then also a lot of people interested in our club right now are people who aren't from those countries, but they're interested in learning more about the culture in the region.
Furthermore, like we're kind of also limited to people that we know from around us, like from people that we take classes with. Being only a sophomore, like there's only we don't really know that many of our juniors or seniors or even alumni that are coming from these countries, just because like there's no way to really meet them or get to know them or know who they are. They're just somewhere in the campus and the university, and this club aims to like bring all those people together and to create a sense of community for those people.
Justin.
Do you guys aim to become an MCC organization in the future?
Yes, we do.
Eric.
Have you discussed this at length with the MCC and have you?
No. We thought that this was the first step, and then we go talk to them. But yeah.
Obviously, there's a potential conflict with ASG. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So if you look at Asia Pacific as a region, it is very, very broad. So it's everywhere from Samoa to Korea, Japan, even over to India. And so I think the point of a cultural club is so people can come and share similar experiences as well as be themselves. And so I think not the trouble with having such a broad club, but the importance of having a smaller club that's more region specific is that people who show up, they'll see more of themselves and other members of the club, so then they can feel more comfortable going to the club. And
if Barcada and VSA already have a lot of members in their clubs, and those are 2 of the biggest countries that make up your region, how do you plan on marketing this to others? students who might fall in this? Like, how do you plan to gain an actual following behind what you're doing?
Well, those two clubs are quite large, and we know that, but still there are a lot of people from Singapore and Indonesia, and also students from Vietnam who are interested in our club, because maybe for whatever reason they don't see their interest served by VSA or the Barcata Club. So I think that we won't have a problem with that.
Also, the club is meant to be able to not only like learn about each individual country itself, but like to explore other countries and get to know better, more cultural-wise, tradition-wise, also what each of these countries have to offer. Especially for Southeast Asian students, it's very common that they would travel between countries or they've been to other countries. So having a reference or place where they can talk about these places and learn more about maybe these countries like Singapore, where they might eventually work nearby from their country, is pretty useful for them.
Thank you. We're going to call questions there. You guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to other new business is our new bylaw that we introduced last week. Last week it was called Executive Staff. Since changed the name to Chief of Staff. So is there somebody here who wants to talk about that? Sahil's not here. Emily, can you talk about the new bylaw?
I mean, we just kind of took everyone's considerations and edited the bylaw accordingly. Do you have, I shared it with you.
Yeah. We're gonna pull it up.
It's not,
Exec staff, right?
it's
What's the
gonna
name?
be, it's the executive staff bylaw. We changed the name to Chief of Staff because we decided to not make it an executive position. So the clarification is that it's under the executive, but it's not a cabinet position. So it won't be stipend, and they're not gonna be a part of like what you think of exec, like me, Cecilia, Taryn, the vice president. They're just like, so like how I have associate justices, this chief of staff would be like the vice president and president's like associate justice, like kind of think of it in those terms.
Okay. So does anybody want to like scroll through this one more time? Yeah? Okay, so we can just review it? Okay. We do give it a slow scroll.
Let them like read it first.
Yeah, zoom out.
Are we ready to vote? David, if I could provide a little bit of context.
Is that good enough or too small?
People are thinking about stipends. ASG had like 55 to 60 positions, only 14 receive a stipend. So majority of you don't receive a stipend.
That's rubbing in your face. Right?
Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say that. Rubbing your
Right in the bylaw. Okay.
Video?
I think someone asked last week, I think Raul asked last week, so if you're relieving and helping out the president and vice president with some duties, then are their like stipends technically decreased or like?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody's stipends will be
Okay.
decreased because this position's not gonna be stipend, so there's no like rearranging.
If we have this position for a considerable amount of time, like a couple of years, and SAFC decides, or if we
The
decide.
CSO advisors.
Right, if the
Yeah.
CSO, the advisors decide that its workload is high enough to, warrant a stipend, we might think about it, and then that might adjust the numbers, but as of now, no. Mika.
Could you clarify the appointments, like the appointment section? Like, I'm a little confused on when the transition is, and also like when they're being appointed.
It's like when the new VP and president are elected.
So are they transitioned with executive staff, or are they just sworn in like other positions?
They would be appointed in the same way that we appoint the VP of finance. Right, or a chief
Like an
justice.
office.
Right, yeah, or an office manager, yeah. Okay, other questions, Abby?
I'm just a little bit confused on the names, because they're not chief of a, there is no staff.
There's no staff.
So then
That's
they're
right.
So I think maybe a better name would be like an executive assistant.
Or we just call them staff.
Yeah, or staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assistant.
Yeah.
Call them a manager.
Yeah, okay. Emily, what are your thoughts there?
We can change the name.
Executive
I think the
secretary.
name is kind of like a miscellaneous.
Right, it's a detail.
It's more of a detail, and so like we can definitely change it to fit what we think.
Alex.
I was just gonna say, I kinda like chief of staff just cause like our whole thing is like not really mirroring the US government a little bit, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can understand where we keep it just so like we, you know, it has some like, also eventually maybe there'll be like staff members of the chief of staff, you know, like, we don't know.
That is fair. That's fair.
Looks good on our resume too.
Yeah, we're helping this person.
Fair points. Fair. Other comments or questions? Video.
Sorry for all my questions, but so was there some kind of like precedent that led to it? Because like we don't even have a vice president yet we have someone to assist the vice president. So like, how does the vice president know that they can't handle all of this because they don't even, they're not even doing the job?
Yeah, good question. It's generally because the president and vice president have a lot of legwork to do that is transferable to another person. Like these are things like meetings that they don't have to, or no, these are not things like meetings that they have to be at with like the trustees or anything. These are things like calling our the space that we use for a retreat, right, and making sure that everything's set to go for a retreat. Things like fielding emails from first years who are in elections and that kind of thing.
So like was Joala like super, or like other vice
Swamped.
presidents like, okay, so it's like because of
Yeah,
that.
well,
we're-
it's, this
doing
chief of
that.
staff, sorry.
Is that because like our past vice presidents have been swamped?
It's
And,
not
like-
for the vice president, it's for the president and the
Okay,
vice president.
okay, so it's because, so there's like some kind of precedent.
I mean, they do
Why?
a lot of
Yeah,
work.
yeah, I understand.
And they need a lot of help, and also this would help them actually implement and try to execute more of the projects on their platform. Because when you're president VP, there's like a lot of things that prohibit you from like dedicating a lot of time to like getting these blue lights, things like that. So this would be a position to help them facilitate what they promised to the student body.
So,
Oh, can I?
yeah,
Justin, do you have a question?
So it just, I'm completely okay with like an executive staff thing, just because there are a lot of operational things that presidents and VPs have to do, and it blocks them from doing bigger and better things that they want to dedicate time to. However, the one thing I kind of have a problem with is the appointment thing. It seems kind of like the president, from the way it seems now, it seems like the president and the VP might elect a friend or just find a friend, and in addition to that, an executive staff, chief of staff, whatever position, I feel like it's going to be a lot of work. Are there a lot of students that are willing to put in this type of dedication, which is literally just to be doing operational stuff? Honestly, busy work that the vice president and president don't think is important enough for them, but not important enough for them, but a lot of too much, they want to dedicate their time to bigger and better things, right? So essentially they want to transfer their busy work to an executive staff position. Are there people that?
One question. I get what this is for everybody. Before we start talking, try to boil our stuff down into a point or two. Emily, do you have an answer for anything?
Yeah, I mean, they're not like I said last time, they're not going to be a servant. They will have things to do to help implement these projects. So I mean, they're not just going to be they won't even be answering emails because they can't answer on behalf of the VP. The VP would have to answer those emails. So it's they're not just sitting there doing desk work. They would be an active member of student government. They're not behind the curtain, just typing away, answering questions.
Kyle.
Just regarding the appointment process, I think it still should be a position that people apply for that's open to the whole student body. Just stay consistent with everything. It just kind of sounds like the way it's presented that the president and vice president will just choose someone to do it. I think it's probably open just like all of our other processes that we have.
That's how it would be. So in the spring, when I applied for the associate justice position, I interviewed with David and Marie and Sahil, and then because I applied because it's open to anybody, it'll be the same process. They're not like just gonna handpick some like.
Okay, last question, because we move on. Raul?
It's a comment, actually,
Yeah.
before I was interrupted. So the outgoing is,
Nice.
outgoing executive staff, I think, you just wanna change that to chief of staff, right? Just to keep the consistency. That's
Yeah.
what the name we're doing. That's all I wanted to say, but we'll,
Good catch. Okay, raise your hand if you are ready to vote on this. Okay. So that's not very enthusiastic showing. What are some problems that you have? Show me. Justin.
I feel like we should at least appoint a new VP first, and then afterwards, I feel like it would be helpful if Sahil and a new VP came in and had like an actual like a better presentation of what exactly this position will achieve and what it will allow them to do once this position is achieved.
Okay. Eric.
My main question is about agency versus like assistant role. So is this job specifically to work under the executive, like as an assistant, so doing like what you were talking about, like their busy work, or do they have a particular amount of agency? Do they have any voting power, recommendation power, or are they specifically doing what they're told to do? Like,
I believe the idea is that they're doing what they're told to do, similar to the assistant VP of finance. Al.
I was wondering, so I was kind of concerned about like as you mentioned, like this like service kind of thing is like this could potentially devolve. Like I can see how you could like to be honest, like you can have it like an ASG like exec email, you know, like that everyone has access to. Like I have concern for what they would end up doing, and so I agree with Justin. Like I'd like to have a more concrete list than what we currently have.
Okay. So because I would like to stick on the agenda timeline. Looks like we're not ready to vote tonight. Is that a fair assessment?
No.
Okay. So, Raul, you want
So just a quick question about the qualifications. So it says must be currently enrolled in at least one course.
Yeah. I think it's a copy paste.
Okay. For any ASG position, they can be on Senate or within ASG but not on Senate if they're in at least one course, or is it at more than one course? Because I thought it was part-time.
Part-time, full-time.
One course is part-time.
It's still considered part-time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anything below 12 units is considered part-time, just as a,
Just wanted to
just throwing it out there.
So we're gonna edit there. I will pass along, Emily and I will pass along your concerns to Sahil, and the potential new VP. And we're gonna move on for tonight, okay? We'll bring you back next week. Okay, let's move on to our confirmations that we have to do. ComDev, front and center. All right. Let's
Are we
see.
presenting the credential, the electronic credential?
Oh, we do. Oh, did I not? We'll do it after. We'll do it after.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Spencer, and I'm going to be traditions chair.
Yeah. So sorry, I should have. I want like a 30-second introduction, your job would be confirmed, and why you'd like to take the role.
Okay, I'm Spencer, and I'm going to be traditions chair. And with this position, I'll work with athletics to work on some spirit events. Right now, I have an idea of doing Bronco game days, which would be tabling outside of Benson, and we'd give away stuff and promote the game on that day. Then I want to start another tradition of like a charity concert where APB and KSU and ASG would get together to try and bring people together for a cause with music. So those are some of my ideas and what I want to do.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, I'm Quincy Portgard, and I'm a junior MIS major here. And I am the incoming, if appointed, I will be the incoming City and Neighborhood Relations Chair. So as part of my position, at first and foremost, I'm really hoping to kind of increase visibility and knowledge about the new housing ordinance to make sure that students here know what it really says, and that there's clarity on that. Additionally, this year, I obviously will be acting as a liaison between community members and students here. So hoping to continue the tradition in the spring of putting on an event at the Mission City or at the mission branch of the Santa Clara Library, in addition to potentially other events that incorporate both our on-campus life and community life around Santa Clara.
I'm Katya. I'm a junior. I'm applying for, or going to get appointed for, off-campus safety chair. I did this last year and I really enjoyed it. We put on the Educated Partier program, which is for off-campus housing, and we give party packs, which are just kind of essential things for your home. And also by getting on the list, you have to listen to EMTs, police department, and other groups, just about how to be safe when not on campus and when participating in activities that could be dangerous.
Questions for Spencer, Quincy, or Katya? Okay. You have the room. Additional comments? Can I get a motion to wind up?
Motion to wind up.
Second. Can I guess? Second. And Garrett. Motion from Kyle, second from Allie. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Right. Motion.
Second.
Motion from Kyle, second from Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I got a roll call.
Addie?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Raul?
Yes.
Luke?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Amber?
Here.
Yes.
Cam, sorry.
Cam?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Raga?
Yes.
Lydia?
Yes.
Allie?
Yes.
Emmy?
Yes.
Stefani?
Yes.
Duncan?
Here.
Mika?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Okay, that is a yes on all fronts. Are we gonna? No, sorry. Let's just welcome her. She's good. Thank you. Back to me, sorry, you gotta get sworn in.
Place your hands on the bylaws. Yeah, you know all this. And so, please place your left hand on the bylaws and your right hand up and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Spencer,
Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
of the Associated Student Government of Santa Clara University.
of the Associated Student Government at Santa Clara University.
Alright. We do have a candidate to be junior senator here tonight. That's what I've found so far. So that's a really bad qualifier. Wow. Zach, come on introduce yourself.
Is there only one position available?
There are 3 junior senator positions available as of this moment. At this time, 1 sophomore position and 1 senior position, as well as the LGBTQ plus inclusion senator role, and all the freshmen. So we're pretty small. Okay, Zach, please introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about what you've done, why you want to be senator.
I have tons of bits, but I'll try not to refer to them too much. So my name is Zachary Mead. I'm a transfer student, so I'll let the transfer student. Hey, you are-
No, computer and transfer student.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So this is my
No,
first,
like just.
this is my first year at SCU. I've only been here for 4 weeks, which is kind of wild. But I applied over the summer to this position, knowing that it was open, or as soon as the application came out, whenever that was. So it's just really interesting to me. Some of my background, I went to Cal State University East Bay, which is up in Hayward. That's where I transferred from. And in there I got really involved in student government. I started out in my first year as what's called an intern. So it was like, it wasn't really an internship, like in the formal sense of the term. But essentially what I did was I learned a lot about how that student government was structured, and what its relationship was to the university, the different roles that you can play. And ultimately, it gave me a lot of experience to jump into that same year. I jumped into 2 different committees. There was one committee that was in the student government called Legislative Affairs Committee, which works essentially on distributing information, kind of like how we sort of talked about the housing thing. distributing information to the university community and to the student government about different pieces of legislation that were happening local or state or federal government that would affect students. And then also drafting responses for the different things that we could do to advocate for certain positions in local or state government issues. And then I also worked in finance committee, which really did a lot of like what I understand. I think it's the SAC committee, correct? Which works on distributing funds to student organizations. So that was one of the things I also did. And then in my second year, I applied for a position that was open. I got appointed to a position that was called Sustainability Affairs Director. To just give a little context, it worked very differently than your student government. So we had a board of directors, which makes sense because our student government was its own nonprofit organization that was an auxiliary to the university. Has its own pros and cons. Really interesting discussion about that, but we don't need to, obviously don't need to deal with that. So essentially what I did was I worked with the university sustainability department through the administration, and the director of sustainability that was within the administration. I chaired a committee called the Sustainability Affairs Committee, and what essentially we were working on was issues of sustainability on campus, obviously, but then also to organize the Earth Week events. So that was something that we worked on, planning events for a whole week during April 22nd through 25th or 6th. So that was some of the stuff that I got to do. But even though I did sustainability like as my title, really what I got to work on was institutional documentation. And something that I got really obsessed with was parliamentary procedure. This is something that's like grown on me in a big way over the past like year and a half. I literally brought with me my favorite book in the whole world, Robert's Rules of Order. It's, you don't understand the degree of nerd that I am about this. It's like almost funny.
Let's open it up for questions.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, seriously, I have so much. Eric.
Well, it sounds like you have loads of relevant experience, so that's great. Do you have any like project ideas or anything like that you want to like hit the ground running with?
I'm really glad you brought that up because that's exactly what I was going to go to.
We should work with one stone.
No, for real, I understand. So that's something which I really want to bring to your attention. Like, it's this idea that I really have one big specific goal, which is to work on the stability of procedure in this organization. It's something that I'm fascinated on a personal level, like an academic level, because I really love procedure and how the structure of a meeting can affect, for example, a thing like legitimacy. This is a big topic like in parliamentary procedure where it sort of derives from like the formal principle of justice that similar cases are supposed to be treated similarly, dissimilar cases are supposed to be dissimilarly. Having good procedure that's consistently applied can promote legitimacy of the outcome. That's something that I found so interesting. So ultimately, a big goal of mine would be to work with the chair and with the parliamentarian to create a standing rules document that would help to codify the traditions of the organization while also implementing more formal procedural things that derive from Robert's Rules of Order, which I understand is the parliamentary authority, which you guys are supposed to, I don't know, like kind of do. Yeah, so that would be the project that I'd be really like dead on. That's the thing that I would like to work on is parliamentary procedure within this organization.
Video.
Yeah, so your background sounds very impressive. However, like we have some problems with like there's a retention rate. Like people tend to drop out or quit Senate or student government in general when they don't like when it's not what they think it is. Okay, and you like obviously come from like this Robert's Rules of Order, which honestly I don't know if all of us are even familiar with it. So like, how can you guarantee that you won't like if it's not for you, you won't necessarily like.
That's a really good question, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to bring that up front and center, because it's sort of a reciprocal thing too. Robert's Rules of Order is a ridiculous thing to be obsessed with. I know. I get it. I'm like a huge nerd about it, and it's true to say that like in the years to come, the stuff that I worked on at Cal State East Bay probably will die. This is a big question for me. If we even created something like a standing rules document, there's no guarantee that the next group of students would care enough about procedure to keep that going. But ultimately, the question is, it's sort of a reciprocal thing. This is a project that I'd like to work on. I know that there's certain traditions and norms that happen already within the organization regarding procedure. So if it's not something that the Senate has the sense that they would like to work on, or create a document which can be brought into the next year, be updated constantly, depending on the need for procedural changes. That's a reason to vote me to not be a senator. If you guys don't want to work on that, that's cool. I'm totally chill about just keeping on doing what I'm doing. But if it is something that you guys like to work on, is creating procedure that is more consistently applied and maybe has a little bit more formality to it, that would be the reason to vote for me.
Emmy and Rolando.
So you are to be appointed as a junior class senator, which means you represent your junior class. So outside of ASG logistics, like what do you kind of see as like just a future, like not even per se like fall quarter, but future ideas possibly you have to make an impact and add value to the community?
So it's really good. The nice thing, I guess, is that it is open for me. One of the things that I get to do as a transfer student would be to work on projects for transfer students, junior transfer students, as well as obviously the sophomore transfer students that do sort of come as well. So creating an event around transfer student resources, for example, would be a nice thing to do. That's something that I would have wanted. Allie, that's the last one.
So I was wondering about, you're talking about like legitimacy and like to me that means like can kind of like transparency, and we have a organization we want to do more of that, like communicating our legitimacy in the state body. Do you have any interest in working on something like that?
Can you be more specific?
Like through creating more order and like more set norms in Senate. Do you have any idea how we communicate that we've done that in the state body?
So that's a really good question. That's something that I try to work on at East Bay too. That's a really interesting question. Because part of it is that like it's a little bit of both fault, I would say, like especially in student government because it's such a volatile thing. Big revolving door of students coming in all the time. It's difficult to get something like a long-term model. But I think ultimately what helps students connect with their student government is that sense of they're advocating on my behalf. It matters what this student government says, because when I go to the student government and I say this is an issue on campus, I can count on them to respond to that and take it to the university as my representative. That's something where it's a little bit of both, right? So like the student government needs to do its part to make sure that it's sending out all the information about what it's doing. But it also matters that the campus culture cares about that. So it's a little bit of both. I think there are projects available, like making sure that agendas are posted everywhere, that they're really clearly communicated to the campus, what it is that's happening. It's the same relationship that United States citizens have with Congress, right? Nobody really cares. but it matters what they do, right? So I think does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wondered if you were interested in working on that.
Yes, the answer is yes. Okay, we're cut out there. No, wait.
Okay, we have a room.
Of course, yeah, please.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Additional comments on that? Bro.
This is more at you, sorry. So
excited.
So the point about like the agenda, like yeah, we could do better about getting the agenda of Tuesday night rather than Wednesday. Cause it's gonna
Definitely true. Sorry about that. I had to get stuff from the exec to put on the agenda.
Okay.
And our meeting was on Wednesday night this week, but we've since changed it and we'll be better about that.
Okay.
Because this is my first year on ASG, like maybe I'm just missing specific roles that the two of you guys and even Kat does, but a lot of this seems like stuff that you guys could work on almost, rather than having like someone who's appointed as like a class senator than take on a logistical role.
But there's a duality to that because it's not just him like strictly doing
Right, yeah,
part of what
yeah.
fall under our responsibilities, but more so the fact that he would serve his function as a junior senator and working with whatever committee it is that he ends up being in.
Mhm.
And also because we talk about group projects as well as individual projects. If this is an individual project that he wants to work with me specifically, we've talked about it in the interview.
Mhm.
That's fine, but the fact of the matter is that it's not just him like being elected to do this function
Right.
specifically, but him working as junior senator, working with his class that he is appointed to, as well as with his committee in a collaborative sense, team project, so to speak. So it's not just him doing this. I want to clarify that.
Kyle and then Nika.
Just the thing I'll say is that I'm just kind of like worried the way it's hired us, because like as much as he wants to like do the Robert's Rules of Order and stuff, we have tried that in the past. Alex Pullman, especially last year, tried to do that initially. And it hasn't quite worked out. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try it. I'm just worried we're not gonna be what he thinks we're gonna be. If that makes sense.
That occurred to me, but he's also very passionate. I see you, Justin. He's also very passionate about student advocacy. How many times did he mention student advocacy?
Yeah, no, certainly that was a concern that we had after the interview. But I would say that you can outweigh the benefit that, you know, he has the experience in the past. He has the passion for advocacy. Sure, he's this transfer and he's only had a couple weeks here, but the fact of the matter is, from the interview and from having talked to David about it afterwards, I think that while there is the possibility of that happening, I mean, who is it not to say that it could happen to one of us that are just sitting here now? I mean, I don't think we should judge him solely on that, but give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think he can do a very good job.
Okay, we're gonna go Nika, then Alan, and Raul, and Justin, and then we're gonna cut it off.
Before I get to my question, I did a lot of finance bylaws, and I'm not even under the VP of Finance, so that doesn't mean he can't write bylaws. Another thing, I want to ask, did he propose any other projects during your interview besides this whole thing?
Yeah, he talked about being as a transfer student. He would like to do things for transfer students. I realize that overlaps with you and maybe.
No, we need all the help we can get. There's a lot of problems with the transfer students, so I agree with the sentiment that we need another transfer student on this board.
He also mentioned the fact that, you know, being here for only 4 weeks, he's seeing the campus and the way things work with a clean pair of eyes, and he does need to get into the swing of things, but he did point out his ability to see things that might seek improvement. Cool. Okay. Ali and Raul and Justin.
I want to point out that like we're gonna have a hard time having junior senators until like next quarter. So like even if he doesn't like it, like next quarter there'll be other juniors.
The old beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, at this point. And then additionally, I think that like he does seem really interested in doing like he's like this is where he found his belonging in his last school. So I don't think it's fair for us. Like I'd be happy to let him like find it here if that's what he wants. And then one more thing is just like the transfer student thing. I'm sure that like he had definite interest in that and also communicating to the students.
Raul and Justin.
I was gonna say, I think it's really good to see him interested in this like structure for the organization. I think it would help us like just be more transparent with like the SC community. And I actually know him because CR introduced this last quarter when he wasn't even a student here yet, and he reached out to the poli-sci department and he's actually like serious about this. And so he was like, I want to like be on AG, and like we've been hanging out like almost every day since week 1, and he didn't. I know it's like weird because I didn't say that earlier, but like no, but I'm trying to say that like I know him as a person, and I feel like his like involvement in ASG would help us a lot, like be more structured and just be more like I guess transparent with everyone. And like I feel like we should like vote him in just because like he knows a lot about what the organization could look like in the future, and we could shape it.
Justin?
Yeah, and going along with that, like Kyle, like SAC is we're gonna overhaul like the entire club system, and I feel like if we get some more formal procedures, like with funding and like with things like that, that's something that like could be really helpful, and like we could use more thought, and it'd be good.
Sorry, I don't want to leave him out there for too much longer.
No, second.
Okay, motion from Ali, second from Amber. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, get a roll
Abby.
Yes.
Justin.
Yes.
Raul.
Yes.
Luke.
Yes.
Kyle.
Yep.
Amber.
Yes.
Cam.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Ragas.
Yes.
Lydia.
Yes.
Allie.
Yes.
Emmy.
Yes.
Ifani.
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Mika.
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
And Melanie.
Yes.
Okay, let's welcome him in. We'll swear you in, and then you can take your seat.
Okay, wow, that was fast. What a whirlwind.
Place your left hand on the bylaws and your right hand up and repeat after me. I, please state your name,
I, Zachary Mead,
do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
of the Associated Student Government of Santa Clara University.
of the Associated Student Government of Santa Clara University.
Congratulations.
Where should I anywhere you can see over in the second row?
All right.
Just leave here. You just go.
Okay, election committees, can we get the people who are?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you're, oh. Okay. Let's just do questions, because we know all these people. Okay. Any questions for the election? Eric, you want to talk about what they're doing?
I can preface it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the election committee is essentially comprised of 4 election commissioners that just help me or the VP in working the elections. Essentially, all they do is assist me and I guess the future VP, whoever that ends up being, we don't know, in election procedure, and if there are any violations or anything like that, then we meet about that stuff. But great, 4 commissioners here, should be easy. Don't really need to ask them questions. It's pretty straightforward.
I'm gonna give the option.
It's pretty straightforward.
Justin?
I'm just like curious what happens spring term when everyone here wants to run for something. I don't know, presumably, like how would that conflict of interest work? Would they still be like commissioners? Or
The election committee is determined by the election committee chair, and that can change whenever, and they don't have to stay forever. It's not like a permanent thing.
Okay. Go ahead.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah. I don't think we I was here last year. I don't think we voted on that.
Yeah, I know. Anything more to say?
Second.
Motion from Mika, second from
Motion
Eric.
to vote.
Hold on, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to vote. Second.
Motion from Ally, second from Eric, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Can I get a roll? That's you.
You.
I think she is done.
Yeah, Abby.
Not here.
Not here.
Sorry, Justin.
Yeah.
Raul.
Not here.
Not here.
Oh, that's right. Luke.
Yes.
Kyle. Oh, he's
Not
outside. Amber.
Yes.
Cam.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Rago.
Yes.
Video. Allie.
Yes.
Emmy.
Yes.
Bonnie.
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Mika.
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
Melanie.
Yes.
Alright, let's welcome them back in. Taryn, can you grab them? Okay. Did they be sworn in?
No, they're already signed up. So.
Okay. Alright.
Or,
Yeah, good.
they're all in Android. Sorry.
Nice.
Okay, let's move into
VP appointment.
VP appointment. Alright, let's talk about the VP that we met last week. Whichever you're comfortable with. Does Ted leave the room?
Are you still just doing Q&A?
Yeah, we're just gonna do discussion.
You can be in the room. It's a discussion related to questions though. Like, is any senator gonna have to ask him questions and you should stay?
Oh, okay.
But other than that, then
Yeah, okay, well, we'll do it in 2 parts.
Okay.
So would you come to the center, front for Questions? Just a question. Then watch the movie and discussion. Lydia.
Okay, so I know there were like some questions like concerning like you being an NR, which I know that you said like it's not a lot of work, blah blah. But at the same time, when we would ask like what qualifications you had, you would bring up like being an NR and like how that's helped you. So which is it? Is it like a lot of that, or is it like not?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of like day-to-day tasks. I've been in residence life for 3 years now, so I've accumulated a lot of experiences over that time. I was also a CF in SWIG my sophomore year, which was more than enough hours on the job to build lots of experiences like building community and dealing with like extreme circumstances and whatnot. But moving forward, that conflict will not be a problem.
Can I ask one project that you want to work on Sawhill with, and one project you want to do not with Sawhill?
Yeah.
Well,
I would like to work with Sawhill on everything that I'm doing to make sure that we're a collaborative and like united front within the executive team. Something that I know for sure Sawhill and I will work together will be the retreat planning, even though I know that's one of my responsibilities. I know it's important for us to be on the same page and make sure that we're like presenting the same messages that we both want to get across to the whole organization. Something that I personally think would be, I might have already talked about this last week, but one of the projects that I'd be really interested in working on is a quick little video made by the student body that showcases people from like a diverse set of communities and organizations like an ASG, athletics, Greek life, and have them talk about their experiences with mental health to work on destigmatizing that and just raise awareness for the campus resources and try to normalize the fact that not everyone is totally stable all the time.
Is there anything that you hope to like beyond that to add to the platform that Maria and Sawhill ran on?
Yeah, another one of these things I touched on last week was my focus on equitability beyond just diversity and inclusion. So what that would look like is trying to strengthen the relationship with the CSOs, like Rainbow Resource Center, MCC in particular, through like actual meaningful conversations with them rather than just like quarterly logistical discussions.
I forgot why I asked the question. That's why I had a second half. Now I remember. Do you feel that like the goal that Maria had as vice president is in line with the goal that you have as vice president?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if everyone is aware that I shot my bid at the presidential campaign last year too. I was forced to step down due to unforeseen circumstances and immediately endorsed Sawhill and Maria because I stand for everything that they believe in, and it would be an honor to continue to fill up that legacy.
We have additional comments? Justin.
Motion and discussion.
Second.
What? Can you hold the vote?
Okay, hold the discussion.
You know what we're doing, right?
Additional comments? Anybody have any more comments?
Yeah.
You do, Eric?
Yeah. This is like a side comment. Like, this is a big deal that we need to be discussing and considering. I think he does have a lot of relevant experience. He's being ComDev, I believe, right? Yeah. He seems like he's pretty on it. And if this is like what Sawhill wants, obviously it's like his ticket, and it's our role to approve this person or whatever, and not approve. But I think I'm a little bit concerned about the time commitment that he is taking, as well as we're proposing a whole new a bylaw change for a new staff member, like based on the idea that they don't have enough time to do all of their stuff, but like we're also like brushing aside the fact that he like has a job. Like, this is ASG's a job. Like, this is his role. I think we should talk about that first.
Thanks.
I'm also concerned, like, he dropped out of the presidential race, and like, I mean, why would he decide to come back right now suddenly? I'm not sure. But I would like agree with Eric, because kind of seems weird that they're suddenly having a bylaw change to add another person, colluding with the time commitment, you know.
Charlie? Yeah.
So I'm gonna let Charlie address the question of whether he can balance the role of VP and being an NR.
Yeah, thanks for letting me back in to clarify this. My intention for the year going forward, assuming I'm appointed to be vice president, would be to step down from residence life to manage that. Yeah, this is my priority, guys.
Okay. Okay. Questions regarding that, actually, let's
When do you have to commit to being an NR? How far in advance?
It would just be a matter of me submitting a resignation.
No, like when you applied to be an NR?
Oh,
Like when was that?
Like April or May.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding the announcement that just happened? Justin?
What are your thoughts on the chief of staff position?
Doesn't look like a bad idea to me, but that's for like you all to decide.
Well, I mean, you're a principal part of that discussion, assuming that you and Sahil like are the executive team. If we
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I would be best suited to talk about the responsibilities of the vice president role, being that I haven't been in it yet. Of course, I'd appreciate an extra hand. If not, I know that there's people before me who have managed all the responsibilities fine, and I wasn't even expecting to have that extra hand for the upcoming year, so I'm confident I'd be able to manage the responsibilities. But of course, I appreciate what everyone was saying, that it would give us more like opportunity to implement the projects that we wanted to. So I'm super for it.
Alex?
How do you see yourself equipping yourself with the vice president position as quickly as possible? I know this is like a strange position.
Yeah, well, it's a bit complicated managing with Maria's schedule due to her like, personal complications, so I'm hoping to meet with her very early next week, meet with Sahil as soon as possible as well, try to get a feel for the executive team. I've been talking about how I want to understand everyone's mission for the team and focus on our projects in that direction, so it would just be a matter of sitting down with the executive team, kind of having like a teach-in session for me so that I can just assimilate into the existing projects.
Like, obviously it's understandable that like you've never been in the executive team or anything like that, but you have served on ComDev. However, you haven't gone through the election process. Do you understand the process? And like the VP's role is to like fill as the election committee chair, right? So like you'd have to be familiar with that process.
Yeah, I went through the election process last year up until a couple days before the election, so the only process, the only part of that I missed was getting a phone call.
Okay, cool.
So, I think like in the past, most people like go to like president and vice president have usually been like senators. And I know like it doesn't say anywhere in the bylaws that you have to be in like senator. So like how do you feel like you're missing some kind of experience that might help you, or like how will you translate your ComDev experience into like representing the student body if you haven't been like a senator to represent the student body?
Yeah, in fact, I think that my experience with ComDev serves as an advantage because I know that all the senators are meant to be constantly interacting with their constituents. I know that that doesn't happen quite as much as the bylaws would outline. However, in my role on the community development team for the last 2 years, there was no way around that. I was forced to constantly be interacting with constituents by programming events, asking for feedback on how to accomplish that, trying to collaborate with different campus partners and get students involved across as many realms as possible. As I've discussed before, my interest in like developing the community, making meaningful connections is something that I practiced diligently in my time at ComDev, and I'm hoping to continue in my role as vice president.
If selected as VP, besides the retreat, do you have any other ideas for team bonding? Because I feel like we could really use that.
Yeah, well, you can bet that the retreats will be filled with bonding. Excuse me. Yeah.
Are we gonna hug?
So we're gonna group hug. It's gonna take like a bit of chunk of the retreat. I haven't thought a whole lot about how to build community within Senate because I need to figure out how to balance that with David. I've already thought about working with Taryn specifically to collaborate with ComDev and build a community within Senate. So I'm hoping to encourage the entire leadership team to take responsibility on that. Of course, I'd be happy to pioneer it.
Can you host the mandatory sleepover in Locatelli upstairs?
I don't think I could do that, but if everyone just falls asleep, I don't know.
Okay, let's put it up there and continue discussion. Thank you, Charlotte. And hopefully that cleans some things up. Any additional comments? Okay.
I think he seems really well prepared for the job. If we voted right now, I vote yes.
Motion to vote.
Second.
Interesting. Okay, motion from Eric, second from Raul. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, can we get a roll call? Magic Q&A session.
Abby? Yes. Justin?
Yes.
Raul?
Yeah.
Luke?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Amber?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Raghav?
Yes.
Vidya? Ally?
Yes.
Emmy?
Yes.
Ifani?
Yes.
Duncan?
Yes.
Mika?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes. Wait for it.
What?
Oh, and is Zachary voting on this one?
Yes,
Okay.
because, actually no, because you did not see last week's.
Okay.
Zach, I like how you were What?
Okay, so please place your left hand on the Bibles and your right hand up and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Charles Albert D.A. Jr.
Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws
of the Associated Student Government of Santa Clara University.
of the Associated Student Government of Santa Clara University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. We are 17 minutes behind schedule. Let's move on to exec options. Oh, sorry, digital.
Come on, David.
Can I just sit over here and talk?
Yes. What?
Should I come up?
Yeah, if you wanna.
Do you want me to click for you?
Yeah,
Of course.
Okay, so now we have a presentation from our very own Raghav Shinodia. He's going to talk about what administration calls the electronic credentials, which is basically putting your access card in your phone or your Apple Watch.
So the school has been working with Apple for the past 5 years or something to put your access cards into your iPhones. And you can basically use your phone or your Apple Watch to do anything your access card would do by tapping over here. So whatever you do, like smart print, unlocking your dorm door, and like buying food in pencil, and things like that. So this is a, do you mind taking on that? This is a video from another university which has already been using it. So you can see how it goes.
This is a brief history of B&H, everyone's favorite photo and video store.
A student ID card, or a J card as it's called on the campus of Johns Hopkins, is how students get in and out of the buildings or pay for things. But now, all it takes is a phone or a watch.
At first, I had no idea what it was, and then using it for the first time, it's just so convenient. Surprisingly convenient.
Ting Fang is a senior and the first student to try it out.
I bring my iPhone with me everywhere, but I can't say that. Say the same thing about my J card.
A student would just place their device near a card reader, exactly like a student ID.
It just seems like a pretty convenient opportunity to use something that you have on you all the time, like a phone or an Apple Watch or something like that.
So, you guys get the
whereas
idea.
I forget my J card.
And I've been, like David and I met with a staff member from the access card office 2 weeks ago, and they say that the software is functioning. He gave David and me access to it, and I've been, like, I don't have my access card right now, and it works really good. So the software works. The reason that